This is Mrs. Post, and this is video 1 of how to make our coordinate grid-based game. First of all, this game is going to involve 3 different sprites, 1 player sprite, 1 danger sprite, and 1 reward sprite. And we're going to play on a background that shows the coordinate grid. So let's start out by putting up the coordinate grid. To do so, I'm going to go to my stage area, and I'm going to get a backdrop by clicking on the Choose Backdrops and go to Search. And if I scroll down, Scratch has given us a background of the XY grid. Please choose this XY grid for this experiment. So now we have our Scratch Cat on the XY grid. We could keep the Scratch Cat if we'd like for our game. He could be one of our sprites, but he's a little bit big. So I'm going to shrink him down by clicking on and choosing the sprite in this category, and then going to Costumes. And if I select all by dragging over the whole thing, I can now shrink him down to an appropriate size for my game. That might be a little bit too small. Yeah, a little bit bigger. There we go. That looks good to me. So now he looks good. In addition to that, we're going to need to have 2 other sprites that need to be a part of this. So I'm going to include a mouse, finding our mouse alphabetically. He's getting closer. There he is. I'm going to take our little mouse. And he's much bigger than the cat. So once again, I'm going to go to Costumes, select all. Let's slice him down just a little bit. Maybe a little bit bigger. And I'd like to rotate him because he's actually going to move up and down on the screen. So I'd like to have him pointing the right direction. And let's just move him down a little bit. I'm moving him because on the screen here he's sitting on the cat, and I want to, there we go. All right, and we're going to need 1 more item, something that the mouse wants to get, because clearly he wants to get away from the cat, so that will be our danger sprite. So I'm actually going to pull up a file of a cheese that I have, and I've already saved this file. So now I have my cheese, and that is a very big cheese. So let's shrink this sprite down to size. This one takes a little bit more effort. I'm going to do Control A to select all. Find the edge of this window here. There we go. Let's shrink that cheese down. I may have to move it a few times to get it in frame. And it can be a little bit bigger. There's my cheese. Let's move the cheese up here a little bit. Okay, so now I have the components of my game. I have my background. I have my 3 sprites. Now I'm ready to start planning their motions. Let's start with our little mouse, who's simply going to move up and down along the along the Y coordinate of the grid. So I'm going to click on my mouse, and I'm going to go back to coding. And I'm going to choose, first of all, from the Events tab, instead of when clicked, I want when space key is pressed. I'm going to pull this out. And instead of space key, I'm going to use an up arrow. And when the up arrow is clicked, I want to go to Motion tab, and I want him to change his Y, because we're going to go up and down the Y coordinate, by 10. So I can test this right now. If I press my up arrow, he moves up the Y. But if I press my down arrow, nothing happens. So I'm going to actually right click and duplicate these blocks. And I'm going to change this one to down arrow. And I'm going to change it to a -10 because I want him to head in the negative direction on Y when I press down. So now when I press my up arrow, he goes up. When I press my down arrow, he goes down. Now, it kind of bothers me that when I press the down arrow, he backs up instead of turns around. So I want to change his direction. So I'm going to stay in my motion, And I'm going to choose my point and direction for the down arrow. And I'm going to actually, right now, if I press down, see 90 has him still just backing up. So I want to go entirely opposite of 90, which would be 180, or negative 90. And let's see what that does. Now he's pointing the direction I'd like him to go. But if I push my up arrow, now he's backing up going the other way. So I'm going to add another point and direction and have him going 90. Let's separate those out. Now we have my up arrow goes up properly. My down arrow goes down properly. So now our mouse is ready to move on his playing field. In the next video, I will show you how to program our danger sprite.